We're talking all things drag racing here today. We've got Jason Hoard checking in after a terrifying blowover accident last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway in outside St. Louis. We're also going to hear from Rudolph, fresh off a big Pro Mod win at the Shakedown at M-Town, and Kallee Mills reflect on what was a breakout weekend for her in her Pro Mod career. Guys, let's do this thing. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Westbuck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. Hope you're doing well out there. Remember, we've got a goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel by the end of 2025. So click subscribe. Make sure you help us spread the gospel of drag racing. As I said in the intro, we've got a great show for you guys today. I'm just returned a few days ago from US 131 Motorsports Park for the return, a little bit of breath of new life into the Shakedown, a fairly legendary event in the sport of drag racing that's got a 20-year tradition, and it's great to see that new life be breathed into it. Guys, I want to go ahead and introduce my co-host here on the show, and we can get this party started. Mike Carpenter, JT Hudson, what's up, boys? You doing well?
What up?
I missed you badly at the Shakedown this weekend, man. I should have made y'all come, but
you didn't tell us you were going. You just snuck up there.
I
told everybody I was going.
I heard you say
everybody was going.
I heard you say like, what do you got going on this weekend, JT? But I didn't know that you were there until Mike said I saw West Buck on the starting line or something. And
on flow. I'm just watching this.
You must have missed it on the conference
stream.
call. I'm sure I told you guys I was going.
No, you didn't. No, you snuck
It's
up
been
there.
on my schedule for months now. Like as soon as this thing got announced, I was Chevy Reeves in the chat. What's up, Chevy? Well, it was a great time, man. I got to tell you, US 131, it's one of those tracks that I had almost forgotten how nice it is. You know, I mean, it's like a really, 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 Mike, we talked about how good the track is. And that kind of goes without saying, I think, but just the overall facility that they have there is absolutely spectacular, man. It was great to see Door Slammer Drag Racing kind of leading the charge up in Michigan, man. And this is a big development. I didn't know this. I mean, it certainly wasn't there the last time I was up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but they got a brand new casino. Gun Lake Casino. Look this up. As soon as the racing wound down on Saturday night, I burned over to the casino and had a nice steak dinner and, played a little bit of,
Did you gamble?
Did you win?
I gambled a little bit. Yep. I left with not much, a couple $100. I did okay. I did all right, man. But
yeah, I haven't been there in a while, dude. I haven't been there since probably late 2000s IHRA days. Well, no, wait a minute. ADRL went there a couple times, right?
Yeah, ADRL went a few times. That was the last time that I had went. I can't remember if it was ADRL or PDR.
Early 2010s. Early 2010s for me. Like 2010, 2011, 2012. That's probably the last time I've been there.
Do you guys ever look at how much is happening in the sport? Like I was just thinking about this past weekend that there was a big race going on. Obviously, the Shakedown at M-Town, but we also had NHRA in Epping. We had the Street Outlaws, Speed Promotions and Racing out at Virginia Motorsports Park. We also had War in the Woods going on. I mean, are you guys ever a little bit? I'm just kind of blown away sometimes by just how much drag racing is going on at any given. I mean, and that's naming a handful of events out of hundreds that were likely taking place this past weekend. I mean, it's kind of amazing if you really think about it.
It really is. And it's tough to keep up with. A lot of these events, until I start to see them streaming on somewhere or start to get word of what's happening at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's happening this weekend too. I mean, I don't think you could have stacked a single additional event on this past weekend, especially in the door car realm. No Time, Outlaw, anything from Midwest all the way down to the War in the Woods deal, which had a ton of stuff going on. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, it was nice breadth from, the top end all the way down. And then, that track, what's it? Brown County Dragway.
Yep. Brown County Dragway.
I mean, that thing got the grass in the center between the, it's grass all the way down, right? In the center, or is it just at the shutdown, like past the finish line?
All the way.
Hey, man, it's got that old school look. What was that place that had? It was like named after a guy that had that
George Ray's Wildcat Drag Strip. Yeah.
George Ray's Wildcat. Where was that place? Like Arkansas or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is George Ray's?
You can hardly get away with that anymore, man. There's some tracks. There's some tracks around here that like had grass between the edge of the track and the wall, which is already kind of sketchy. You see that going away a lot now, but down the center of the track, man, that's a relic right there.
It's a relic for sure, man. And it's
had several wrecks too, didn't they?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit with Jason Hoard because I do feel like, man, we tore up a lot of shit this weekend as a sport, and I do like the cars are getting so fast. The competition's getting so good that, man, it just seems like we are. I mean, I don't know how many cars they tore up. And obviously nobody's going into this looking to tear up their stuff, but I do think like the evolution of small tire and no prep racing, like, is going so fast, and the cars are getting so much better, and the technology's coming along so far. And I don't know if all the other things, the peripherals, like the safety, the venues, etc., are keeping the pace.
Well, you wouldn't know. I mean, just reading the comments, on one of those, 3 people are saying no, it was staffed, and there's an ambulance on standby, and then the next 3 say, no, there wasn't nobody. It took 20 minutes for an ambulance to get there. You just never know, what the hell's actually going on.
It's that double-edged sword where it's like, in one way, it publicizes the event. It gets all this traction, like this deal with Jason Hoard or the crash at War in the Woods. But yet is the old saying, there's no news. What's the saying I'm looking for?
If it bleeds, it leads.
Well, no, there's no such thing as bad press or whatever, because it's getting a light shown on your event.
As a racer though, as a racer, like part of that's on you as well to know. I mean, if you're going to an event, you go check it out yourself. See what the fuck's up there. Is there an ambulance? What's the staff? I mean, that's on you as well.
It seems to be fed by social media though too. Like whatever the truth is, people are going to run with the bad news. They're going to see the crash. They're going to see a helicopter in the middle of the track, life flight, and then all the speculation starts. The truth becomes very hard to find at that point.
Yeah, it does, man. I mean, it's like social media in so many ways. It's obviously like an amazing tool, and it's an amazing thing that's happened to this world. But it certainly has allowed, like you said, for bad news to travel so fast and really overshadow the positivity of what's ultimately happening. Because as much as that's, these no prep races and some of these super fast cars going down these clearly sketchy racetracks, I know that that's an allure to a lot of the challenge is a big part of the
about it here. Is that not something that we kind of glorify here too? It's about matching 100%. The venue with the show, with the cars that are there, and you don't want a huge venue that takes away from the drama of what's going on. And then kind of on the opposite end of the pendulum, you don't want some of this stuff happening like what we saw this weekend.
Yeah, it's a really tough, it's the classic double-edged sword, like you said. I mean, we want these venues packed out. I think I've said it 1,000 times. I think drag racing looks fantastic and plays so well at a smaller venue, and it really captures the soul of our sport. And I think it's super authentic to what we do. But at the same time, there is like a point where I'm going, okay, we're going to have to contemplate some of these things, like how fast these cars are getting. It's out of control. I mean, it wasn't that when we started Drag Illustrated 20 years ago, the fastest radial tire car in the world was running bottom 5s in the 8th mile, right? Now the fastest radial cars in the world are running mid 3s. And the real stock appearing cars are way down in the 4-second zone. And I mean, you're talking about 4-second, 150, 160, 170 mile an hour door cars going down racetracks that were built in the 60s, early 70s. And it does make you go, okay, but where you're not going to, I don't know that that's a problem that's even solvable, really.
But, no prep. I mean, they're going to race no prep. you know, I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, they know what they're signing up for in some of these instances. Now, if they were promised that there was going to be
XYZ
X amount of, if you're promised that by the promoter and you go up to race and something happens and that's not available at all, then I can see having a problem. But, otherwise, well, what do you expect when there's no prep on the track? Well, fuck, we're racing no prep. That's what it is,
volunteers can't be victims.
Right.
One of my favorite sayings, and it's so true because we all know what we're getting into. And especially, it is on us to make sure. I think that's probably one of the points that Jason Hoard's going to make is like, how much safety equipment did he have that perhaps he wasn't mandated to have? And I think that's one of the things. And we've seen a lot of these racers. Lyle Barnett is one of the guys that I really like to kind of laser focus on as having made it fashionable to have all the latest, greatest safety equipment. I mean, that young man has been to hell and back, almost lost his life behind the wheel of a race car. He's had a couple real hair-raising situations, one relatively recently when he was racing in Montgomery and, a Pro Mod shootout, car catches on fire and burns to the ground. I mean, it's terrifying stuff, but I do see guys like Lyle that have big followings, guys like Stevie Fast Jackson that really, really, really push safety and going above and beyond and having all the things that you need and then some. I think that's a great thing for the sport. I'm glad to see more of it. I do see a great comment here from Drag Racing Mayhem. Epping with the NHRA is the best example of how a smaller venue is better. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, as much as I love to see our sport, on the grand stage that is provided by ZMAX Dragway and Las Vegas, the strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway and Bristol coming up this weekend. It's so great to see our sport at venues like that. But I can't argue the fact that NHRA at Epping sure looks good.
Yeah, it's certainly easier to hit the ball out of the park there with the traffic. I heard them talking a lot about that traffic and just packing the stands, but those are diehard racers. I heard a lot of talk also, like when Pro Stock would come up, the fans would stay in the stands. They're not there just to watch Nitro. I would love to see throughout the weekend that you can't really tell watching on NHRA TV, like how packed the stands stay continuously. So it's almost like a different crowd, a different show. I think when you go to those big tracks like Bristol this weekend, or, here in Charlotte, those big CMS or SMI owned facilities, they're like a spectacle. So it's kind of a different approach to it. And I've always been about NHRA going to these smaller venues, doing like a smaller show, a house show is, I guess, what you would call it. Like if you're relating it to other sports or wrestling or whatever, where it's like trim down your show a little bit, trim down the expectations, scale everything to match that. And then it can put on a hell of a show. So yeah, they battled weather this weekend or in Epping, but I still think it turned out to be a great event.
I think so too. I mean, it was great to see the Elite Motorsports team kind of get their hat back into the ring. So far in 2025, it has been the KB Titan show across the board in Pro Stock. So it was great to see Erica Enders back in the final and kind of, create some drama in that category. I saw her post on social media earlier today or maybe yesterday that, typically when they've had some struggles, they see it turn around in Bristol. So I'm anxious to see how things play out this weekend. Lots of shakeups in the Pro Stock ranks. It seems like we've got, some guys bringing out new cars, some new people coming into the area, but we've also got some guys going out. It was, talked about widely on the broadcast that it looks like Brandon Foster, who was really, had impressed me early in 2025, stepping away.
Yeah, he was qualifying. Was he qualifying top 10 or even, close to the top 5 at the first couple of races of the year?
Yeah, 100%, man. And I was really, really, really happy for those guys and Jim and Jamie Yates involved. And they had a leasing engines from Elite. It was a solid program. And I was a little bit saddened, to see that go away because we need more of those fresh faces. We need more people pouring money into this sport that, aren't a second or third generation racing family that's been doing it for 100 years. I want to see more of that. But no, it's a really interesting thing, man. I saw there's a comment here. I would love to go around a little bit on this, Mike and JT, just talk about what a stir this NHRA top alcohol funny car and dragster news has created. Basically, for those that don't know, NHRA has announced that in 2026, Top Alcohol Funny Car and Top Alcohol Dragster will both have a supercharged nitro methane burning basically rule combination. And by all accounts, this is being done to, as being said here in the comments, to serve as something of a feeder category for Top Fuel and Funny Car, so guys can get used to racing that combination and take some of the same parts and transfer over. But Randy Meyer, top alcohol dragster, legend, multi-time champion, a guy who has launched the careers of a lot of the people that are, staples in our sport today. I mean, specifically Justin Ashley is one that comes to mind as somebody who went through what I'd call the Randy Meyer boot camp, earned his stripes in top alcohol dragster racing before making his transition to Top Fuel, and has had significant success competing for a world championship. We've also seen Julie Natas, his daughters, Randy's daughters, Megan and Rachel. I mean, we've seen a lot of people come from that camp. And so I feel his commentary carries a lot of weight with it. And he was pretty, I would say, just watching the video and then the story we followed up with on dragillustrated.com, clearly not totally sold on the notion. I'm curious, Mike, I mean, we've seen this in Pro Mod before, right? We've seen it in some of our categories where sweeping rule changes are made to try to increase participation, and it seems like it rarely goes to plan. I mean, we saw the NHRA do away with their they never had necessarily an invitational format with NHRA Pro Mod, but they have had something of a, you got to join the membership, you got to commit to the races, or you got to join the series or whatever and commit to coming to X amount of races, and a lot of safety requirements on the NHRA side that perhaps don't exist in some of these other sanctioned and series. But we really didn't see any influx of these, regional or outlaw racers, throwing their hat into the ring for NHRA competition. So I'm kind of curious to see how this pans out. I'm not, Mike, do you have a knee-jerk reaction?
I mean, they've got, now it's just more to police, right? They've got to keep parity between these combinations. And then I think they've seen the success of having the two of these in top alcohol dragster, and how direct of a pipeline top alcohol dragster has been for Top Fuel. And now they want to create the same thing from top alcohol funny car into funny car, nitro funny car. So I think those are my knee jerk. But we got a great email actually from David Malden, who follows the show, watches us regularly, and kind of reaches out to us and gives us some info. He races and is involved in the top alcohol arena, and he gave us some stats. I don't know if you, Wes, if you saw this, he copied you on this as well, but he just broke down some numbers that kind of say that it's not that the NHRA needs to kind of evaluate the goals of what they're trying to do. That changing the power adder doesn't necessarily seem to be the answer to getting more cars. They've got cars, but the cars don't show up to all the races. He broke down the numbers. There were 40 top alcohol funny car teams that competed in NHRA last year. Only 13% went to one race, 15% went to two races, 48% went to 5 or less races. There were half the teams only competed in 5 or less races. So they've got cars, they've got a healthy inventory of cars, but getting those cars to consistently show up to each of the events and run the full series seems to be more of the issue. And so maybe you got to look at payout, maybe got to look at when these cars are running. I actually talked with a lot of the top alcohol field when we were walking around ZMAX Dragway shooting photos with Rick Belden for the magazine back in April. And they also kind of said the same thing. A lot of it really beyond payout was we run early in the morning, we run late at night. We're the first to get our session bumped or pushed or changed. And literally, it's like, when is the last time that any of these top alcohol classes ran in front of a big crowd, or that they were featured the way that they were back in the day? I mean, I can remember on TV, top alcohol being featured very prominently. And knowing a lot of the household names in those classes. And then we've talked about IHRA in the past, where top alcohol was kind of their nitro for IHRA, and they really featured those guys. So I think there's more to the story that we'll maybe see NHRA approach. Maybe this is just the start of it, but I don't think that this is a cure-all, that this is going to fix the issue of participation.
I tend to agree. It's just tough. I think there are other ways to solve this problem than introducing further complication. And it just seems to me like typically when the rules get opened up further, it becomes a challenge to police it. It introduces a whole bunch of new people to something, or perhaps some new opinions that I don't know how much you need, really. I mean, I'm with you, Mike. I think this really lies in the presentation. I mean, we've said this for years, right? Drag racing has so many things going for it, but I think our presentation is a touch outdated. And I can't help but look at, other motorsports and the way that they do, try in a variety of different ways to shine a light on their up and comers. And this is a tough thing, because I know the battle that NHRA is fighting, right? It's so many people to try to take care of them all. But I can't help but wonder if there's going to need to be some way to showcase these guys and make guys and gals and make them the star of the show. I don't know if that is, secondary events, something, because I don't think one or two, JEGS sports nationals or whatever a year are really going to do it. We've got to find a way to promote and present these people in a fashion that is going to drive interest and make people want to be guilty by association. Because to Randy Meyer's point, who's going to want to go buy a truck, trailer, all the stuff that's required to do this? And then, as you said, Mike, know that you're going to get bumped, anytime that it serves the purpose of running Top Fuel and Funny Car, you're going to get bumped. You're racing early in the morning or racing late at night. And it's hard to bring a sponsor out to the racetrack and get them excited when you're parked 37 miles from the starting line.
Right. Be here at 7:30. Our first run's at 7:45 a.m. It's like,
right. I mean, at the steakhouse till midnight or whatever. And that's,
well, it's hard. Like you said, it's hard to convince somebody to get motivated to make the investment that it takes. And I just don't know that basically they're just kind of coming out and saying, in my opinion, this is a feeder class and we're just going to treat it that way and just hope to even increase its aspects as a feeder class for Nitro. Now, I don't totally disagree with that. And I think that it has a place for that. We've lauded that on this show a lot about Top Alcohol Dragster, but from a sponsor ROI standpoint, I mean, unless you're doing it like Randy Meyer and renting cars and building an entire fleet that you can rent out and it's a competitive operation, how are you going to incentivize the family teams or the one car teams or someone new to the arena? That to me is going to be a much harder sell.
And what I'm seeing is, I think about the brand Megan Meyer has built for herself. I mean, the young lady is racing far less than she has raced in the past. I mean, she's a multiple-time champion, right? And has done extremely well for herself, but she has done that on the back of social media. I mean, I honestly feel like she has built more of a following for herself than NHRA could have built for her, or helped her build. So I do think there's a pathway to providing ROI and providing value to a sponsor or whomever your primary financial stakeholder is, outside of what time you run. But that's a tough ask, again, for all these people. And this is this problem, this kind of ongoing problem that we have in our sport, where so few of the people that do this at a high level do it full time. Megan Meyer,
those stats speak to that. That's what that basically shows. And a lot of it's regional too. I think you get a lot of regional cars in alcohol. So it's JT. I'm thinking about JT though.
To have that feeder class, if you had a payday at the end, you're like, okay, we're in this feeder class, and if we do well and we race it for a couple of years, maybe we call it the big show, like any other sport, right? We talk about this all the time, but then there's got to be a payoff somewhere,
there is no guarantee or payoff.
I know that's the problem.
And there's too many classes. That's what I was thinking about. Your comment would probably be, we started talking about just the room, how do you make more room for all this stuff? There's too many classes, and Top Alcohol's been around a very long time. But then since then, we've got Pro Mod. Now we've got Factory X. Now we've got, I could just sit here and start naming more and more classes. We'll do a drag and drive exhibition. Let's bring in some Top Fuel Harleys. Let's do, you start to add all these classes, which I think is just a tendency. We see this across the board at a lot of events. Something's got to give. You can't continue to give everything an equal spotlight when you've got to split it across so many different things. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's great to have all those classes, but it becomes difficult to manage it.
And I really do. I saw Cooper Bogetti make a post on social media in the last few days, and he just talked about the Savannah Bananas and how they came at the sport of baseball from a completely different perspective. And I can't help but feel drag racing is somewhat staring down the barrel of that decision, where a reinvention is required. I mean, I feel proud because I feel like in many ways we're driving the bus on that with Pro Modified and creating a focal point. And, this is where we're pouring our energy into. There's a lot of fantastic things happening in the sport of drag racing. There's tons of great racing going on from top to bottom, left to right. But we do kind of have to pick one and ride. We've got to pick something, put our energy behind it. And this is where, as much of our effort, energy is going to go into as humanly possible. And I think you're right, man. We've got so many people spread across so many different ways. And in many ways, that's the magic of drag racing, right? Get in where you fit in. There's somewhere for you. I mean, I remember my dad telling me stories about showing up at tracks and they not having a class for his car. So they just say, hey, we'll make one. We'll come up with a class and you can race in that.
I know.
And so much of our sport is built on the back of these personal conquests, right? I mean, if I had, I couldn't tell you how many conversations I've had over the course of the last 2 decades with racers that are, I've got the fastest stick shift 28-10-5 Coyote powered, right? Like they're all chasing these personal conquests of being the fastest or the quickest in their particular deal or what have you. And I know that drives a lot of this stuff. People want to have their names on the top of those lists that used to live on message boards and all that. But I do think our sport is staring down the barrel of a necessary reinvention. I mean, honestly, I look at this past weekend with the NHRA national event in Epping, across Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock and Mountain Motor Pro Stock, there was like 55 in Pro Stock. There were like 55 pro teams on the property, and I haven't heard any complaints about the quality of the show. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that the natural answer for every promoter or event organizer is more classes. I even had this conversation at US 131 this past weekend where it kind of came up. What do we add to this? What do we add? And I'm like, man, I don't know that the answer is adding anything. I almost think that the answer is to reduce. I mean, I think there was 35 or 40 race cars on the property at the Street Outlaws event, the Speed Promotions and Racing event this past weekend in Virginia. And again, I didn't hear complaints about a lack of cars or there should have been 300 cars there. And I do think this default in our space of measuring events based on car count kind of feeds this problem where, I mean, imagine if you took a top alcohol dragster show and took it to a small track and put the necessary promotional power behind it. I mean, that's the thing is
it becomes your show, right? Like
it becomes your show where it's like,
and what is their show? Well, it's this, and it's this. Oh, and it's this, as far as the pros go, you could pick 4 different things and then you got pro mod too. So basically 5, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, what is your show? What's everybody striving to get to? That's just me, but
well, and if you also think about it from the terms of like people don't, when we were growing up, Mike, I'm sure you remember, if you went to the races, I mean, it was like a weekend investment. It was a 12-15 hour day and you knew that going in. People in 2025 have other things to do. Like they may go to the races for a couple of hours on Saturday, but they've got a wedding to go to that night or a softball tournament they're driving to, whatever. Their kids are busy. They've got a gazillion different things going on. Everybody works more than ever, it seems like. And I think if you look at, if somebody's coming to your race for 2 hours, that's typically what you've got. You've got 2 or 3 hours of these people's attention. And I've been laboring over this with World Series and the Winter Series of creating times throughout the day that are separate shows where it's like, hey, we're going to have our first round is at noon. And if you show up at 11:30 and stay till 2, you're going to see first round. You're going to see this, that. You're going to see driver intros. You're going to see opening ceremonies. But then have another scheduled, I mean, obviously you have a schedule, you kind of a run order that you're working through, but create high points on that schedule throughout the course of a weekend where a fan can go, I'm going to the drag strip at 2:00 and I'm going to watch XYZ happening that lasts 2.5 hours or whatever. And then I'm on down the road.
But you got to have entertainment too. That's the thing. Like you can't just have a divisional and it's all sportsmen. Exactly. Becomes just completely participant driven. No one really wants to participate or be involved in it or follow it other than the families and friends and the participants themselves. You can have those cars and they can be your marquee, but you better hype it up. You better be hyping the personalities that are involved in it. And then you better have something that's kind of off the wall to supplement it. A concert. I don't know, something
fireworks show, dude. I mean, if you look at all the
cars,
things,
all that stuff,
there are things that can be added that aren't another class of cars because I do think that that's kind of just perpetuating this issue. And I mean, obviously, the Winter Series, we saw Pro Mod participation kind of reach historic levels. We had 85 cars at the World Series, and that's fantastic. But I would still tell any promoter that I was, that was coming to me for advice or asking me my input, is that it takes 2 cars to have a drag race. And if it's properly presented and it's properly promoted, that should be enough. I mean, a lot of times, if you look at UFC, the stands are relatively sparsely populated until the co-main event or the main event. Right? I mean, it's just, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know that we've got to find a way. And I think it's going to be the return of match racing. I mean, if you go back to the 70s and some of those glory days of match racing in the late 80s and early 90s with Pro Modified on the East Coast and even on the West Coast and in the Northeast, that was small shows, right? We're going to book in 2 big name pro mod guys. They're going to run best 2 out of 3, and people are going to come in and spend a couple hours. I mean, look at what's happening at Piedmont. I mean, and this has been going on for decades now, but it's kind of experiencing a new surge of energy and excitement around that racing. And I really think a lot of it is the format. The show's over, 5 to 10 o'clock or whatever. I mean, and that's probably longer than is ideal, but it's still probably the tightest show in drag racing today.
All you can get done. I mean, they're hustling, and it still can go late, just depending on crashes, oil downs, whatever else is going on. But you can't pack a show much quicker than that and run the classes that they've got.
Speaking of hype and everything, I see a sheriff down here in the old green room. So,
ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our first guest of the day, fresh off a absolutely incredible performance at the Shakedown in M-Town, your Pro Modified champion, the one and only Jeff, the Sheriff Rudolph. What's up, Jeff?
What's going on, guys?
I'm a car and one on my chest, gun on my hip, and the right to arrest.
That's right. That's right. What I tell you, a couple years ago, Wes, there's a new sheriff in town.
There is a new sheriff in town, man.
You've been coming, man. We've been saying this and watching this and talking about this, and you've been coming. Yeah, I mean, you won the second chance race at our event, and you ran really well this past year also. And it's been
always there.
This has been kind of overdue.
Oh yeah.
You've been
got a foot in the door.
You've had your foot in the door for a long time. Got the job done this past weekend. Kind of just take it through us. A challenging weekend, right? The track was really, really, really good. I would argue to a certain extent, perhaps almost even too good at times, with the challenge that is presented by running radial tire cars and big tire cars the same weekend. But Samuel Peterson, Jimmy Bradshaw, Ashton Bradshaw, everybody involved did a fantastic job keeping the racetrack ready to rock and roll all weekend. But just take us through. It's a challenging weekend early on with weather, but you were there in the final. How close was that to a career best, or was that a career best?
No, we ran a 58 in Florida before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, it started the race. We were a little sketchy about running on radial prep and big tire prep mixed, and it actually ended up working out pretty well. It was amazing that that they could do both of them. I mean, it wasn't ideal by any means, but it was pretty daggone good for 2 preps in one. But
I couldn't agree more, man. I was really impressed with it overall. Just take me through kind of your weekend. I mean, obviously the world was watching the final there, but the competition this past weekend, without a doubt, the toughest racing we've seen in the Midwest Drag Racing Series since its inception a decade ago. Great to see the participation in the cars. They had 25 cars there. I think that's a fantastic turnout of race cars at a what is kind of a 3rd or 4th iteration of this event. I mean, how excited were you to see the Shakedown back on the schedule and these big money races, 20 grand to win? I mean, I think these are great things for the sport of drag racing, specifically Pro Mod.
Yeah, 3.5 hours from my house. You can't beat that. I'll be back there next month. I think we're going back there 2 more months in a row. But yeah, first round we ended up getting Haney, which was a pretty good matchup. I think he ended up burning his motor up at the end, but regardless, I was ahead of him in 60 foot, 330. He'll tell you different, but
not Keith Haney, man. Not Keith Haney. No, he's gonna tell us the truth, 100%.
Yep. Now, I mean, every guy we ran, second round we were running Domenico. I mean, every single one of those guys could have put me on the trailer, every one of them. And it just, we had an unbelievable consistent car once again. I mean, we made every single lap. We shook the tire one time, and I think that was in Q3, and only because we tried to swing for the fence. We were already sitting 5. We're like, what do we got to lose?
Right.
But the weather's probably going to be the best it can get in qualifying. We went up and Brandon's like, listen, if it makes it 5 feet, we're in good shape. It didn't make it 5 feet because we had it hopped up. So we were going for 58, 59. Then
that place will hold it too. I mean, that's where I was telling Wes, we used to go there in the ADRL days and iTray days, and with the clutch, and we would come in with our nighttime Rockingham setup, like more clutch than we would typically run like during the day, and go out there and just blow through the clutch. And so that place will hold really anything you throw at it.
It's amazing. And some of I think we kind of base the tunes off of kind of Bradenton weather. We were putting a little bit of that in there because of the track, the radial prep, stuff like that. And it seemed to work. Brandon, I can't say enough about that guy. He's amazing. I think he went, he had 3 wins, that weekend, 4 total. He won with, Murder Nova that same weekend. And then he won with me. He won a Pro 275 and the guy killed it. He was in the winner's circle more than anyone.
It's absolutely incredible. But I got to tell you one other thing that I thought was incredible. If I look at the results from the race, I see 3 things that really stand out to me. Low ET, Jeff Rudolph, 3:59 with a 6. Top mile per hour, Jeff Rudolph, 2:08.24. Best reaction time, 0:23 with a 0, Jeff Rudolph. I mean, did you feel that? Like, do you ever go to these events? And I know any racer worth of salt goes expecting to win, but was there any point throughout the weekend where you felt like, holy moly, this is really coming together? This is going to be it.
Round 2. I think it was round 2. We're like, man, and I think I got a 003 on round 2. And I'm like, I'm killing it. I told Brandon, pull some out of the box. I said, pull 5 out of the box. And he didn't tell me. He pulled 10 out of the box. And I think the last round we ran a 24 light because I just want to let you know that was actually a 14 light. I'm like, okay, we'll still take it.
Absolutely. We'll take it, man. Yeah. We will absolutely take it. I mean, because I kind of felt it as well, basically just by the amount of runs you guys were making. Getting down the racetrack is a big part of this deal. We've seen it for right? I mean, everybody wants to be a hero, but making A to B runs and the way you were making them bottom 60s,
you don't
pretty
learn
much
anything
every
on
time.
A shake.
Exactly.
You don't learn much.
Oh no, I was really impressed, and I think it's cool to see that there's so much movement in pro modified because you go down to Bradenton or you go out to a PDRA race and there's a lot of the names that you're used to seeing, but to me it was great to see like Jim Widener in the thick of things, Aaron Wells in the thick of things, Robert Costa, what a weekend that guy had.
Nitrous cars there,
several nitrous cars running really well. I really did expect to see Haney click off a 3:59 or something along those lines. I know that was kind of his goal for the weekend, but I think nitrous cars really stood tall and stood proud this weekend.
Yeah, it was amazing. And what's his name? Costa, that guy. What a show he put on. I told him right before the final round, I'm like, man, you've done really well today. But that's your last round you're winning.
That was the last one. Enjoy it while you can. But again, to see a relative, I mean, Robert Costa has had a presence in Pro Modified for a long time, but a lot of times he was fielding the car on his own. And this new partnership he has with Todd and Ty Tuttaroto is clearly bearing fruit. I mean, what do you make of the lay of the land right now in Pro Modified? Because there are so many hitters. So many guys that can win on any given weekend. I mean, we've talked about it a lot here on this show, but I really feel like we may be living in like the glory days of Pro Modified drag racing.
There's no doubt. When I first started running Pro Mod 6-7 years ago, it was not even close to what it is right now. I mean, we had a tenth of a gap. Now we're talking hundreds, thousands. It's crazy.
Tell us about your pre-Pro Mod career. Like what did that look like, and then what motivated you to move up to Pro Mod?
Gradually, just moving up from a bracket car, slowly running NMCA. Then I was in the nitrous class. Bought that car from Kevin Parent. He won a lot of championships with that Nova that he had, and I bought that and won a bunch of stuff with that. Started talking to Steve Summers. He was running Pro Mod. Talked to him for a while, and we're kind of buddies. And he talked me into getting a Pro Mod. He goes, "Man, you might as well just get a Pro Mod." And him and I kind of put together a car. It was kind of identical to each other, and he helped me out for a year or so. And he's the one that kind of got me hooked.
And here we are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that we were talking about this earlier in the show, and I think right as you jumped into the green room, just how important I think it's going to be for our sport to have that focal point, right? Like to have a class that people want to be a part of from other walks of the drag racing life. I was telling Mike and JT earlier today that, walking through the pits at US 131 this weekend, I was blown away by how many people were telling me, I'm building a pro mod. I'm trying to buy a pro mod. I'm selling my stuff and buying a pro mod. And for me, it's exciting because that's really the magic, is having all of these big personalities and all these great stories doing battle against one another. I mean, I think
we're right there. We're building one too. So we've got another one coming out in probably another couple months. Ideally, what we're going to try to do is run it at the U.S. Nationals. If we're not running that, we'll be running someone else's cars at U.S. Nationals, what our plan is. But it's going to be strictly an outlaw car, but can do both. But yeah.
Do you think that that's where the answer is? I mean, because to me, the fact that you can build a car that can be raced in so many different configurations and so many different events, if you're looking at this at all, and nothing about drag racing is economic, but if you do look at the investment you're making, you want to make something that's going to be able to be raced in a lot of different places. That was one of my concerns about Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings, is that I was seeing these $500,000 builds coming out for cars that really are only going to be able to be effective in that one style of racing.
Right. It seems like now the rule packages, any series you go to is, I mean, we're within 10, 20 pounds of everything. And it just depends on what you want to do, where you want to go. There's so much racing going on. Like for me, I was running a lot of PDRA, or my game plan was run a lot of PDRA this year. And then I kind of just switched to Midwest, and we're just going to move around, and whatever works out well for us. Midwest is paying twice as much and everything's close to my house. So it just makes sense to me not to drive 12 hours. I mean, PDRA's got some stiff competition. So does Midwest. PDRA may be a little bit deeper in competition, but there's dudes that'll bust you every weekend on either series.
Oh, there's no doubt, man. There's a lot of great places to race right now. And I think keeping these things, safe and doing well, that's what we need to see, is because, I was having this conversation with Chris Bell over the weekend and just talking about how important to the overall drag racing world these regional series are, and keeping them strong and keeping participation up and driving interest in them, I think is mission critical to keeping these deals healthy, so that there is, something that's keeping these guys racing when there's not the winter series going on. So I'm glad we've got so many opportunities. What do you make of the whole NMCA deal? Were you as surprised as I was to see that go away, or did you feel like that was coming, or what was your thoughts?
I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I really didn't see it coming. I mean, they had some competition. There's no doubt about that. I didn't think it would financially hurt them, because they had a bunch of other classes that was doing well, I thought.
Not sure how it looked on the outside, and obviously you never know what all's going on, but
and the pro mod class was, in my belief, I think it was the only one that was struggling. I mean, it was hard for them to get 16 cars in there, but every other class they had, man, there was 30, 40 cars in them.
Yeah, I was always wondering that, because it just felt so abrupt.
Yeah, and there's plenty of other places to run a pro mod. Like, that's probably the least of the concerns. But my concern when I saw that was all the other classes, like you said, that were strong, and where do those guys go race? And I guess, kind of get in where you fit in. But I know there were a lot of dedicated guys at NMCA and NMRA that ran those exclusively. So
those guys are diehards. They've been there 10, 15, 20 years, and they don't think about running any other series other than that.
100%. So, that was a tough deal. What do you think about your momentum now going into Winter Series? I know you said you've got a new car on the way and you're going to be kind of bouncing around. Are we going to see this current car at Winter Series, or you said you're going to have whatever new car you're building is going to also be able to run that series?
Yeah, it'll be a new car.
Because it seems like you're just kind of getting your footing here. I mean, this thing is consistent.
I know.
Top 5 everywhere you're going, it seems like.
I told Brandon that we were running so good here the last couple of months. I said, I might just stop that new build. And he goes, don't even say that. Bullshit.
Can you give us some details on the new car, or can you not?
Yeah, I can. It's a 5-star body. It's a newer style Camaro. Precision built race cars are building it over here, a mile from my house. I mean, it's a no brainer. I'll go over there and watch their stuff. They do a lot of Top Fuel stuff. So they do Stewarts and Antrons and stuff like that. And those guys over there are amazing. Joe and Dan, they're amazing. I mean, they do the work themselves. That they'll weld all the chassis. They want to do. They're hands on, but they're perfectionists for sure. They've already built, this is their second door car. They built one to my crew guys. I got Pete Kallee and Jim Beal. It's a 632 car. I think they're picking it up today, actually. So that was their first one. So it's a really nice car.
I've heard about those guys kind of dipping their toe into the door car waters. Yeah. They may not, your car, maybe the second one or third one they built, but they're more on the way, supposedly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Antron wants one now. That's what he said.
Well, I think we're going to see more of it. I mean, I really do. And that's, to me, it's exciting. Like when I hear about a shop that's, spent their years or spent their time building top fuel cars or building funny cars or whatever. Now they're building cars with swinging doors and rear suspension. That feels like victory. It kind of goes to what we
say, right? I mean, that's another aspect of the sport that's turning their attention to pro mod.
Yeah, those guys I think they cut their teeth there with Schumacher for 15 plus years. They were good there and they're great now on their own.
It really is. It's a fantastic thing. I'm glad to see new blood because that has been, I mean, we used to joke like, man, if something bad ever happened in St. Louis, every chassis builder is gone. You know what I mean? Like there's
been a lot of change. I mean, there's been a lot of, reshuffling of the deck as far as chassis builders, door car chassis builders. And I think you're going to see some more of these guys pop up, some of these independent shops, guys that have learned under the tutelage of a Jerry Bickle or Tim McCamus or Tommy Mooney and move around and open their new shop. And it's going to be interesting to see over the next handful of years how this shakes out.
And I think they need that too. It's tough. Bickle makes great stuff. So does Jeffers. They all make great product. But everybody wants one, so they're backed up 2 years, whatever. And some guys don't want to wait 2 years. They'll pay whatever. 2 years, technology is going to change a lot. So if they can get on, with precision built, whatever, and get a year project or whatever, whatever deal you want to make with them.
How hard was it to race? I didn't see Shooter.
He's going. He'll go to the big races. I try to get him to come all these little ones. He says we need to renegotiate his contract.
Yeah, he's big money. Yeah, I don't think he was at. Was he not at the first 2 Winter Series races, and then he was at World Series?
Yeah,
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, he was. I told him he needs to make all of those, but he had some work commitment. He was out of town a lot, so we'll get him back on. That's my wife's brother. So.
Okay.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize that. Okay, so that checks out. What do you make of? Really right now, just you guys, you and Steve King, our winner of the World Series of Pro Mod here in 2025, launch your own podcast, Boost and Bullshit. You, Jason Harris on there. What do you make of all this, like just media that's happening? I mean, we've seen you obviously lean into the showman aspect. We've got the nickname, the sheriff. We got Shooter in front of the car, doing the aircraft launch. Yeah. I mean, you just seem to have bought into this. We got a name on the door of the car. Yeah. I mean, do you see like that's what it's going to take the sport to the next level?
I know you've always preached, it's the person, not the car. I'm a little bit different. I think it's both. I think you got to have a little bit of both, but yeah, I mean, Steve King, they're on their own now. I got fired from that TV show. Now I'm not running a lot of PDRA, so it's really hard for me to, the next day elaborate on what happened that weekend when I wasn't even there.
Wasn't there. Right.
Yeah.
I understand. But I do think that like I'm seeing more and more of these shows pop up. And I think you make a good point. Drag racing is, I think the car is like a necessary part of the storyline. I do think that there are cars and drivers that are kind of, they're married. I think like Big Chief and the Crow. Yeah. Like that is something that has worked. And Pat Musey was always known for his green 69 Camaro and the green Firebird. And there are guys that have been married to the car. But I mean, I would argue Jeff the Sheriff Rudolph, in very short order will be able to drive anything. Yep. And it'd be Jeff Rudolph's driving the car. Yep. That's a big part of it. I mean, Kallee Mills, who's going to join us at a little after the hour. I mean, she was somebody who I think, you couldn't imagine seeing her in anything other than a gold 68 Camaro. Right. Now we see her behind that maroon burgundy 69 Camaro, and it's like, but it's still Kallee Mills is in that car. And I just feel like we've got to put more. Yeah, we've got to put more onus on that, more and more and more as we go, just to create celebrity, because that was one of the conversations we were having in the tower at US 131 is, drawing fans and what it takes. I don't think more cars is the answer. I don't think another type of car is the answer. It's building the star power of the people that are here.
Some promoters who want that, but fan wise, you're right. I don't think they really care.
I don't either.
Is the new car going to be a ghetto sleigh also?
Yeah, I can't change it.
Are they numbered? Are we gonna start numbering?
Oh, you should, like Swamp Rat.
Yeah,
it's Swamp Rat 1, Swamp Rat 2. So we got Ghetto Sleigh 1, Ghetto Sleigh 2. Okay, we're gonna have to.
What's the story behind the Ghetto Sleigh, real quick?
So how I got that name, I don't know. It used to be called Rudolph Sleigh on the nitrous car when I was running Nitrous Pro Street. So I had it on the Pro Mod, the Rudolph Sleigh, and I kind of banged it up there in Bradenton, and someone comes by and says, "Man, that car looks ghetto." And I'm like, "I think I got a new name for this."
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's only my life's work. Everything I've got is poured into this thing, and you just said it looks ghetto. Appreciate it. But no, the name has stuck, man, and it's great to see you in the winner circle. I think it's setting you up for one hell of a summer, and you'll be right where you want to be. Are you excited about the potential of going and running the NHRA US Nationals? I mean, that's a bucket list item for damn near every drag race around the planet Earth.
For the last 3 or 4 years, just haven't got a chance, and now it more than likely will happen this year with my car or someone else's. We're in talks with someone else's car right now. But yeah, it's 2 miles down the road from my house. That's another no-brainer. You know? Yeah,
100%, man. I'd say that will be the best participated pro mod race of the NHRA season. Yeah, it historically has been, but I wouldn't be surprised. Just seeing the quarter mile series has really turned its corner. You've ran some quarter mile in the past, obviously with the Nitrous Pro Street deal. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be a little bit different in the pro mod, but I believe the last round there at the US 131. I think I ran about 1,000 foot because I couldn't really see the cones. And, I was pretty excited. And I get back from that run knowing we won. I told Brandon, I said, "Man, you might want to look at that computer." I said, "I think I went a little bit far." And he goes, he looks at it and he goes, "Yeah." He said, you might want to check those springs when you get home.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, man, you're in the moment. And it really was a shootout up there. I mean, every car was flying. Everybody was, Craig Sullivan. I think that was one of the big stories of the weekend.
The Hoosier boys, man. He won in the Slammers, runs a 57 out there. And then Rodney Massengill wins in the Ultra Street. He's another Indiana guy. And then that night, Pacers win the conference. So I was running around the pit saying, "Let's go Hoosiers."
Go Hoosiers, man.
Did Dave Hance he was there, he attended the race, and then he left from there and went to the Pacers game. He's a huge Knicks guy.
Oh wow.
Which it didn't work out. Wes was telling me the story. He was only there for a couple hours, and then part of his trip before he went back to New York was going to the Pacers game. So yeah, hell of a weekend.
Yeah, it was great for the Hoosiers.
Hell of a weekend for Indiana, man. Well, Jeff, we so appreciate your time, man. We're happy for you. I can't wait to see you at the next stop. Where is the next stop for the Ghetto Sleigh?
I think we're going to go to Odessa, and then we'll come back to Michigan again for PDRA.
Fantastic, man. Well, we can't wait to see you there. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. Congratulations. Send our best to the whole camp, and we'll see you at the drag strip in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, brother. Talk soon.
See you.
All right, guys. Hey, let me take a quick second here and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to stroudsafety.com today and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys,
that's a little different than JT's version.
JT, why don't you hit it real quick?
Of the Stroud. He can't duplicate it. He probably can't remember. That was completely off the cuff. What he said last week. He had none of that planned. But I was like, why don't you just come up with say something funny for each of the script reads? He's like, all right, I'll do it. So then we just totally winged it.
He doesn't have much trouble saying funny stuff.
Dude, yeah. So one thing that God gave me right that I can do right is be funny, I guess.
I think you got more than that out of the good Lord. I mean, handsome, right? Very friendly, outgoing, right? All these things. Clean living.
It's my birthday week. Is that your present to me?
That's your present, man. That's your present. Well, hey guys, we've got a special guest, and this was a tough thing to watch unfold over the weekend. Jason Hoard at Worldwide Technology Raceway during their no time shootout they'd put together had a terrifying incident. JT, do you have the video?
I don't have a video here.
Okay, here, hold on. Load it up. I have it in Slack if you want to grab it out of the Wes Buck channel. And we'll go ahead and introduce Jason Hoard, who thankfully is here to talk to us after this scary weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jason Hoard.
What's up,
Jason?
man?
What's going on, buddy?
What's up,
Man,
guys?
it's glad to see you with a smile on your face. And okay, we hate to see these things happen, but I suppose we all know it's part of it. Could you take us through kind of what was undoubtedly a terrifying experience in your virtually brand new Corvette build?
Yeah, I mean, the car hadn't shown signs of that in about the 20 passes we had in it up to that point. My old Camaro with this drivetrain was a little more prone to trying those kind of shenanigans. That car would wheelie through the finish line last year. I did the big wheelie down at Bradenton about 5 or 6 years ago, if you remember from the
Yep,
speed video.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this car didn't really show any signs of that prior to that incident. There was a bit of a headwind, a bit of a crosswind. Here you go. The guy hung me out a little bit. Is why I left so late. It was a test pass. But yeah, everything was fine, absolutely, until the second that it wasn't.
I mean, thank God though that you left kind of staggered like that, because you came down right behind him over in his lane. I mean, it's another one of those things where if that doesn't happen, how much worse could this have been?
Yeah, 100%. I very easily could have landed on his car if you see where the back of my car lands. So yeah, it was. The NHRA has not. I believe talking to Brad at Gateway. I believe they are coming out tomorrow to look at the car, and they haven't released it to me yet, so I don't have any data from it. I would really like to see it.
So the NHRA impounded your car, and it's still.
Yeah. As far as I know, I've never been through this process, luckily, before, but I have heard other people say the same stuff.
And is this
but
because
yeah,
it's
they
an
wanna-
NHRA sanctioned track? Like, what determines that? Wes, do you know?
Yeah, I honestly, Wes might know more than me about this. I believe that's it. It wasn't, from what I understand, it actually isn't a NHRA sanctioned event.
Right.
We did go through tech at Gateway, but yeah, they impounded the car. It's at Gateway's facility, and the gentleman at Gateway, Brad, has been super helpful and nice, making sure the car's locked up and nobody can get to it. But as any racer does, I would love to see the data. Kind of talking through with my guys, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently, unfortunately. Like I said, I have had the front end come up before on other cars. I pride myself on my reaction times and my ability to, kind of get out of things if they feel, they feel like they're getting too far, etc. This one didn't show any signs of that. I did, I brought Joey Heichel and Beaterbomb Tuning on at the Shady Side race, and we were putting some radial boost to this thing. Honestly, surprisingly, on slicks, he's good at what he does. I wanted to take a little bit off my plate at that race, and man, when he sent the first boost curve through, I was like, wow, you think we can stick that? He said, yeah, and it did. So. The car wasn't super fast up front at the gateway, at that gateway pass. What we did kind of figure out is that the track was radial prepped, and talking to some other gentlemen that Wes would know, like Scott Lowry was there racing his car. His 60-foot, he's got a lot more 60s on his new Camaro than I have on this Vet. He was 4 numbers slower to the 60 because the track was so sticky. Basically is all we could figure out. I was about 2 numbers slower to the 60. Had about 55 pounds of boost in that Hemi Outback. We went 195 on the slick, on the 28-inch slick at Shady Side. I guess I could technically talk times now because the car's gone, so I don't have to worry about the no time stuff so much. But we were within 4 or 5 numbers of the fastest cars at Shady Side on a brand new car. So we were super happy with the way it's running. But this is the first time I turned on the lockup, and I have a feeling that lockup came on about 3 seconds. That probably helped pick the front end up. But again,
it felt like you could hear the motor pull down in the video.
And I think that's the lockup. It hadn't been on before. We had changed We knew we went to Shady Side with a bit of a tight stator. I ended up not changing. So I work with Pete at Circle D. He's been super great to work with. We've been super fast with his stuff. And we knew going into this race that the stator was tight. It had a radial stator in it from the end of the Camaro days of Flying H at the end of last year, and I we had changed an obviously brand new car, a lot of things. Car was lighter. We kept the stator the same initially, just so we didn't change one more factor.
Yeah, like control a variable, right? As few as there are to control, it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So when we went to Shady Side, we kept that stator in so we weren't chasing our tails, basically. Well, I changed the stator for this gateway race. We were actually getting ready for the big speed promotions at Bowling Green, 100,000 race. We were one of the 128 cars locked in. So we put a looser stator in it. When we did that, I was like, I'm going to lock it up to make it up in the back end, right? Like we knew it was a little grabby up front. We wanted the looser stator for that reason. So I turned the lockup on again, guessing, haven't seen the data yet, but that added to again, I wouldn't have done anything different though. I would have turned the lockup on sometime on that car. So yeah, I mean that's, and then look, people keep asking. It is funny how it went. I mean, I was fine, and then I was literally felt like the car was going backwards, and I got myself small in the seat. Like I just was like, I immediately thought this is not good. I knew what was going on. Got small in the seat. I remember the first impact in the left rear of the car, and then I don't remember anything after that. I was out for about 5 minutes, it sounds like. Scott Lowry, my guys Doug and Bob, who race with me every time, couldn't do this stuff without them. We're all gathered around, everybody talking about what a great crew I have. When I woke up, these guys were right there looking at me, praying for me, just trying to make sure I was okay.
And by all accounts, Jason, you look good. You sound good. I mean, how do you feel following that terrifying incident?
I mean, I'm super sore, and if you saw me moving around, I'd look like a 95-year-old dude, I think, not moving super quick. And I've been definitely, I would say, I've Googled it, just trying to figure out what's going on, post concussive, stuff going on. I was out, so I don't know, yeah, honestly, at the hospital, they didn't talk about it much. They looked at a lot of other things they were worried about, a void around my lungs, what they weren't letting me out for the first day, but they really didn't talk much about my head, etc. But I just been a bit of a brain fog this week, and today is the best I've felt, honestly. And I think it's, as I Googled it and read about it, some post concussive stuff, and I went to the eye doctor because I've had some floaters in my right eye. I was worried I had a detached retina. That was ruled out, but she basically said some bruising. Um, and that's what causes that. And it should go away. I hope it does, because I've got like a gray spot in my right eye that floats around.
Oh, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I mean, it's that's one thing I often tell folks that I think gets undersold in our sport is just the courage that is required. I mean, we talk about talent, we talk about skill, and this guy's a natural driver and that gal's a natural driver. But the fact of the matter to me, or perhaps the most significant part of this whole deal, is just the courage that's required to climb behind the wheel of one of these things and let off the button, well knowing that could be the outcome. When you look back at what happened, I saw you make a post on social media pretty quickly afterwards, just talking about having great safety equipment, and that was one of the kind of conversations that I wanted to have with you here today, to hopefully inspire some others that are maybe on the fence about buying a head and neck restrainer, or on the fence about buying an expensive helmet, or a high quality fire suit, or making sure they're checking the belts in their car, or window nets, all these various things. Can you kind of just reflect on how your safety equipment performed in all of this, and the impact it had on you being here, talking to us today?
Well, 100%, all credit has to go to Beelman Fabrication, who built the car, and those guys there. If you kind of saw what they did, I mean, they spent the time making my belts perfect. And I'm talking about, this guy's a bit of a pain when you're doing that stuff yourself, but the crotch strap and the shoulder straps, etc. Ryan there at Beelman Fab. You know, I, I'm pretty good about, I always crank my straps tight. I don't need the reminder from Ellen, like everybody, hey, we had a wreck, tighten your straps up that she always does. Like I do that. And obviously it went a long way, but just the car that Beelman built, everything was built to spec. Mike Veggie from the NHRA, you guys probably know him. He's here local to St. Louis. He certifies a lot of car. That guy is he's really good at what he does. He doesn't let cars go out under his watch. Like, I mean, these are guys, Beelman and these other shops around here, McCamus and Bickle, etc. Veggie certifies most of the cars, and he doesn't put up with any junk. Like I can remember many times on my Camaro, like there was one bar he wanted up around where the A pillar and the dash bar meet. There was a way the gusset was done, and he kept telling us why he wanted an extra gusset there. So yeah, I mean, I had a all up to date, you know, um, Pro One driving suit, the Hans device. It's all all in certification, etc. But that stuff all combined, along with obviously a super well built car, to I came through it. But I sent you the picture, Wes. I don't know if you have it. You
Yeah.
can put it up here. That was from the track before they locked up the car. Um, yeah, it's pretty scary looking. When I look
It,
at it today.
it's almost unbelievable, to be honest, to think that that's even possible, right? I mean, just to so little of this car left, and I'm grabbing the photo and going to send it to JT so we can get it up on the screen here, because it is worth dissecting. It is crazy that you haven't been able to pull the data, because I am also anxious to hear just kind of like what you see in that.
Mhm.
And I will certainly follow up, because I'd like to know if there is anything that you can identify in the data. It seems like this, I don't know. One of the things that I just feel making it fashionable to take safety seriously, because you mentioned Mike Veggie. I met Mike Veggie when he was the general manager of Wentzville International Raceway, one of my favorite racetracks, Mid-Missouri Raceway, I think it was back then. But one of my favorite racetracks on the planet. He was always great to my family, great to my dad. He's a world-class human being. But to your point, a lot of these technical guys, no matter what the logo on your chest is, they take a lot of heat for being hard asses, but it's in situations like this that I think that we've got to respect that they are trying to do their level best. And in the event of a disaster, you're going to be able to walk away from it.
Yeah, 100%. Those guys, they are definitely, their job sucks, right?
Yeah.
Nobody likes them. I mean, as far as that goes, you and I like them, but I mean, when they're not passing a car, I'm sure that's an unpleasant conversation for those guys. I mean, we've been lucky. The guys in Kansas City that that did my Camaro, the new Blackwell very well, and new Veggie, and then obviously Beelman who did the Corvette here. They know what to do, so they don't get cars that don't pass. But yeah, I know Mike, and I know he's not past cars. He doesn't take any crap. He's gonna do what's right. But it obviously is super important.
It's a huge part of this. And because drag racers, I mean, we're line steppers by nature, right? I mean, we're going to find a way to push the boundaries and inch up to the threshold of what's allowed. And it's great, especially in this day and age of like everybody wanting to build the lightest cars and the most versatile cars and the latest, greatest stuff. It's it's a very important part of this thing that everybody is able to walk away on the end of the, Saturday night, Sunday night, and live to race again. I think it begs the question, where do you go from here, Jason? I mean, this is as you mentioned, 20 some passes on the car. I don't know if you've even had time to start that process or what the future looks like for you, but I've seen you you've been a big part of the small tire scene for as long as I can remember. I think our paths first crossed in Valdosta, perhaps 100 years ago, or maybe
probably
somewhere.
actually even way before that in my KCRA and Mako days, way back in the day. But yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, it's a big financial hit. There's not much left out of that car. Let's say the engine and transmission and converter are okay. I mean, I had some great companies behind me, and then they've reached out, but it would still be, to go do a complete new. I mean, it has to be a new car. I mean, they're or buy something else and do it, obviously, and that car's destroyed. Not only did they cut the front end, cut the front of the cage out to get me out, but yeah. So I mean, as far as that goes, I'm not sure. I mean, what you talked about with the weight of these cars, I mean, like, we built this thing as light as we could build it, and it doesn't take a brain surgeon to know if we're putting radial boost in a slick tire car, what kind of horsepower these things are making. So yeah, I mean, you hate to say this stuff might be inevitable, but I'm not the first one who's flown. I won't be the last one who's flown, unfortunately. So yeah, it's hard to say for that. I've got a nitrous Fox body that we built for kind of true street stuff. And honestly, when I ran that car, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot less. It's a lot less stress. It's a lot less money. It's a lot. So I can't say that. I mean, again, I had TBM and Motion and HPT and Menser, Weld, everybody, Circle D, Pete at Circle D has been awesome. M&M, Mark Mickey's reached out. I mean, everybody's reached out. Um, so I can't say that I wouldn't, couldn't do another one, but that's kind of not, honestly, right now, it's not high on my agenda to go out and just reproduce that car. I'm gonna step back a little bit. I'm gonna run this nitrous car and have fun, and then kind of see, maybe this is one of those times where, I mean, you and I know what these things cost to build. You've got your Corvette, etc. You understand what the small tire stuff costs. I don't know that I want to go, let's say, whatever's salvageable, that I want to go put another 250 or 300 straight in a hole, basically, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it is. So I hadn't got to that point. It's going to be talking to my wife and my daughter and see what honestly makes sense. What makes sense
Probably
for
a
us.
pro mod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are cheap.
Yeah, real affordable. But it's an unfortunate timing for this, because as a member of like the Midwest drag racing contingent, the small tire contingent, it feels like there's some momentum. You know what I mean? Like, there's some things happening. We got new track, Flying H. We got, there's programs going on. Obviously, this program at Gateway, US 36 has some stuff going on. I mean, like, it feels like there's some things happening in the Midwest that are positive. And what a poor time for this. What do you make of that? I mean, I wasn't even familiar with this event until I started doing some research, but apparently, there's a pocket of racers there that organize this themselves. I mean, what do you make of the Midwest drag racing, heads up type outlaw drag racing scene right now?
There is a lot going on with small tire stuff. And honestly, what I was joking about with the Corvette was I was excited to get it on radials and take that car go 215, 220. I mean, I went 207 in the Camaro at 2,950 pounds 7 years ago, right? This car, you can kind of figure out what a carbon bodied, car built to lightweight. I mean, this thing was 500 pounds lighter than that. I mean, it legitimately should have been able to go 220, right? Like on a radial, like it wouldn't have been a big stretch. I don't think so. Yeah, there's the radial racing up in Wisconsin. Flying H is going to have some radial events. You have SCT around here. Then we have US 36 with the KCR no prep, and we've run a bunch of stuff with that. So, what's good for me is, having the nitrous car. I mean, it is a slower car, but at the end of the day, it's been a blast, to run. And we run like it's built for true street stuff,
Right.
or it's built for little gangs. Like, so honestly, little gangsters, the 530 stuff that my buddies Jimmy and Poland are doing, which you guys are obviously tied in with. Well, I don't even have, I mean, think about the car's been 470 on about 70% of what we should spray to it, right? So if I go run 520, 530 little gangster stuff, I probably have to slowly progress a 200 kit. Like
Yeah.
the thing will live all day. So not everybody is fine with taking a step back, but I've got other friends, Dan Seitz, was a pro mod racer
Yeah.
and then went back and is running slower small tire stuff. And he's okay, he's okay with it. People like think about that, wonder about, well, you're going to go slower, so you're not on the main stage or whatever. But honestly, we have I have a ton of fun in the True Street stuff. I ran my Calypso Fox body in it. um, so yeah, honestly, with the silver car, the no prep True Street stuff, where you do like a 15-mile, 20-mile cruise, I think your Corvette probably lines up pretty well with some of that stuff.
I mean, I gotta tell you, I think that's the biggest upside to what's happening going on with little gangsters specifically, is that, to your point, I understand. I've talked to 100 racers that have no desire to ever like take anything that even feels like a step backwards, right?
Yeah.
Like we've worked so hard, and I've spent all this money and all this time and years working towards this goal of always going faster. But for me, the upside and the exciting part of little gangsters in classes like that is that it's a fashionable place to race. It's an exciting place to race. There's a lot of people involved in it. The competition is really stout. The purses are really strong. I mean, I don't think a guy's got to feel bad at all or feel like that's a step down, and that's what's so important about it, is making sure that there is a place for a guy with a low 5-second door slammer, which in this day and age is a pretty attainable goal.
Yeah.
To go be a part of the big show. Because I'm telling you right now, we experienced it firsthand at World Series of Pro Mod. When we introduced little gangsters to that, I think a lot of people from the outside looking in would have said, oh, it's like a sideshow. It's a secondary thing. I'm telling you, it was part of the magic of that event. And the stands were packed when those cars ran. The stands were packed. When we were doing the chip draw, there was fans everywhere. I mean, people are latching on to those types, those personalities that exist in that space, because I think they're relatable. They're guys that look like you and I. They work on their own stuff. They drove all night to get here. I mean, that's something that's pretty easy to get on board with.
Well, and it's it's some great racing. You remember something that was pretty close, but Mean Street at Holly Springs. Yeah. I raced X275 back then, and there was a lot of cars. Let's say there was low 30s, mid 30s cars in X275. Mean Street had 60 cars. Yeah. So this little gangster deal, Poland was talking about, there's going to be 75 cars at the Speed Promotions race at Bowling Green, probably, right? And that was your first. That was your first race with it. Probably a little late, as far as what it went, but I assume if you do it again, you're gonna have a ton of people that want to race, little gangsters at your deal. So for that goes, I think it's super exciting racing for the racers. And I told plenty of people that we tried to get some Mean Street style stuff going here. It didn't quite take off, but now that they see the little gangsters going, I think that look, and I'm the first one. I would be. I don't want to change my tune. I'm the first one who said I'm not going to run that. I'm not going to run index. I'm a heads up guy. But you see these guys racing, and you think about, okay, I barely have to lean on my car. I can go run this and win a big purse, and it's super tight racing. I think they've done a really cool thing with the no time slips. Like, a lot of guys don't like it, but me being a heads up guy, I know if there was time slips, I'd get my butt kicked by a bunch of index guys. Let's just be honest. like it gives me a shot, right?
100%. I mean, I think that's what's so exciting about it is that the no time slip deal and the no time shown on the boards, like it really creates that element of kind of a heads up small tire race, and it's anybody's drag race throughout the course of the weekend. And I think you hit something pretty important there, is that it's a way to go racing and still have fun. I mean, you're not to the point of putting rods and pistons in this thing. You're not servicing it like crazy. As you said, you can step it way back, make this thing last forever, and be able to go drag race and have fun. Still leave on a pro tree, right? You know, still take off side by side with somebody. So I really do hope that that we don't lose you. You know what I mean? That we keep you a part of the drag racing community. I mean, you obviously will be no matter what, but I want to see you still behind the wheel and making hits out there.
Well, I plan on it, that's for sure. So I just don't, like I said, I don't know about dumping it, you know, what I'm going to do as far as a big build goes. But I was, you know, honestly, I wasn't, it was kind of weird on this car. I wasn't really like the Camaro was the last one I was going to build. And I said that I'm like, man, I'm not this is stupid. These big builds. Well, I think Beelman knew he spec'd that car. He needed to spend some tax money. He buys the body, starts building the chassis. He knew Randy or I or one of his guys was going to see that thing and be like,
and want it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you saw that car before. It just got destroyed. I'm not. Yeah, it's mine, so I'm a bit biased. But man, that thing was pretty sexy. So it was hard to pass up. That's for sure.
Closing notes on this, Jason, and I appreciate your candor and spending some time with us so closely after the incident. But I am curious, like the speeds and the power that's required to run at the front of these deals. It feels like there is the level of racing and the level of performance is getting pretty insane. I mean, you've got cars running, as you said, 195, or I think you were almost 180 when that thing went airborne there.
Sure.
I mean, is there like I mean, what do you make of it? I mean, because it does feel like we're kind of on the cusp of like the cars. Are we exceeding the bounds of what's reasonable here, or is it something that needs to be thought about or looked at? I mean, obviously Worldwide Technology Gateway, I mean, it's a beautiful facility. It's as safe can be. But I mean, you start thinking about how fast these cars are going at little, small racetracks. I mean, it's just something I'm wondering, like we're kind of dancing on the ragged edge of what I don't want to see more of this stuff happen.
Well, to your point, I think that's actually the most important thing. I mean, think about I want to say thanks to the staff at Gateway, etc. Think about if that would have happened to me at a lesser facility, right? I mean, who knows? Like those guys were on me quick. It's a big, wide open facility. I went over the wall and didn't smoke into anything. I mean, that could have been a totally different deal. Um, we've seen other guys. Tommy Yeoman's probably one of the worst I've ever seen.
Our next guest, Kallee Mills, her father,
yeah,
went through a really scary ordeal like this in Valdosta.
Yeah, and then so man, it's hard to say. Well, I'm not one that's gonna tell anybody not to do this stuff. It's just I get how it goes. I've always done it. I've always pressed. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that goes through my mind when I talk about building a new car is like, what would I do? I mean, I'm not going to build a heavier car.
Right.
If I would redo the Corvette, it would be even lighter. I bet I bet we figured out 50 pounds we could have got out of the car and we'd do it. And, I guess then the question becomes, what does, besides, suspension setup, etc., what does keep the front end down if there is a nasty headwind or whatever? And then if you're at an outlaw track, which God love them, I've raced at Holly and Bonterre and at your old facility, Eddyville, here last year, and I-29 with Beater Bomb. Look, and I love those places, but I wouldn't want to have a really nasty wreck at some of them because, ambulance, the rest of it, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I think guys are gonna maybe think about it But I don't know today that it's going to stop much, right?
Yeah, I can't argue, man. I mean, I think that unfortunately, it's, I suppose, the nature of the beast, and we know what these things are capable of, and I just hate that it's drag racing such a brutal deal. You know, I mean, you're the highest of highs. You got a brand new build that is clearly showing a lot of promise, and here we are having this conversation today. I hate it for you, Jason, and I appreciate you spending some time chatting with us about this. I think it's important, you know, to have you on here, looking as healthy as can be, you know, and let people know that these cars and our sport has come a long way. I mean, I think that really the round of applause is that you can have that happen and be on a podcast 4 days later. So,
well, yeah, again, all credit to Beelman. I mean, think about the strength of that car, right? Like the car went through some stuff. So big thanks to Mark and his team, 100%, for keeping me safe. And yeah, to your point, it's the design of these things, the NHRA. I think the NHRA is going to take a lot of pictures, and they'll probably try to learn something from this particular one when they look at that car, right, and see if there's any of the spec in the 25-1 or 25-2 or whatever that they're going to fall under. I think they'll take a look and see what they can learn to keep people safe the next time.
That's all we can do, brother. That's all we can do. Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us, Jason. Again, I'm glad to see you upright and chatting with us, and I look forward to seeing you at the racetrack again soon.
Thanks so much, Wes. Thanks for
Appreciate it, brother. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. All right. Well, hey, let me take a quick second, everybody, and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that protect and perform better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are down to today's final guest of the show. We saved perhaps the best for last. Let's give it up for the one and only Kallee Mills.
Hey,
Kallee,
guys.
what's going on? How are you? What a weekend we had up at US 131 Motorsports Park in Michigan. I mean, obviously, you've had a considerable amount of success in your relatively fresh career. It's not been too terribly long since we saw you first jump behind the wheel of a race car, but my goodness, what a journey it has been. We saw you win the no time 275 category, as well as run a career best and the fastest and the quickest in the Mills family, a 360 with a 1 behind the wheel of the new American Pride golf carts Camaro. I mean, just kind of reflect on the weekend. I'm sure that this was, I mean, we can talk about the no time Kong and the exploits there, but let's start with Pro Modified. I mean, what's been your initial reaction? Has Pro Mod always been something that you were looking to move towards in your career?
Yeah, growing up, that's where I wanted to be, was Pro Mod. When we did the No Prep Kings thing, that was the next step to, get comfortable on a big tire and a no prep no prep. Obviously the cars at that point weren't running as fast as they are now, but I think that it definitely helped me get prepared for the Pro Mod ranks. I mean, you don't see a lot of drivers coming out and running 360s when they have less than 25 runs on a car, especially a Pro Mod. But yeah, I've always wanted to run Pro Mod. That's been my goal. That's where I want to be, essentially.
I think it's the spot to be right now. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I'm a salesman by nature. I can't turn it off, but it's like, if I look around the sport right now, and it's like, if you want to be a part of the action, this is where a whole lot of it's happening. There's a ton of racing going on. There's a lot of big events going on that pay good money, that garner a lot of media attention. Tell us just about, I mean, we got you behind the wheel of the Scarlet. I love the name of the car, and I love that you name everything that you drive. But what has this experience been like? I mean, what can you say about, obviously, your dad, Taylor Strange, of course, crew chief tuner Lee White? I mean, like you said, 25 or less runs, bottom 60s. You're clearly a player now. Does this kind of change your perspective, knowing what the car is capable of as you head into the summer months and the rest of the show or rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective the whole time is to be the fastest, whether it's, when I first came out or now that I've gotten 25 passes in. But when I talked to Lee White, actually, when we decided to do the Pro Mod deal, we were kind of like talking what the plan was going to be. And I was like, I don't really want to go to PDRA first out and get our teeth kicked in. I want to be prepared and be, top dog. And Lee looked at me and he was like, you're going to run mid 60s first time out. And I didn't believe him. I was laughing, you know, like, yeah, whatever, Lee. And then we went down to XRP at the first Midwest race, and we went 67, and I actually had to lift a little bit because I had a fuel leak. And so, I mean, the car would have clearly went low 60s. And so I was like, I had to tell him he was right. And, you know, my dad and I work him a lot, you know. I mean, we're out in the shop every night working on the cars and everything. I actually, when everything came out that they were going to have the shakedown, I texted him. I'm like, so we were on our way to XRP for the Midwest race, and I texted him. I was like, hey, does this mean we can take all 3 cars? Because technically we could have taken the Gorilla, the Kong, and Scarlet, but it just was going to be way too much. We already worked, you know, so much the past weekend. It was just going to be too much. But all this to say, yeah, my guys and myself too, we work hard, and it's just a little bit, you know, when you work that hard and you win, or see a 360 come up on the board, it just makes it that much sweeter. So like I said, all of my guys work really hard, on top of my mom and Jeannie cooking and cleaning and keeping all track of everything that goes on outside of just the race cars, the camp and everything. We have an awesome team behind me. For sure.
And you guys have a lot of fun when you go racing. That's what I think. That's probably one of my favorite things about the Mills family as a whole, is your whole group. You guys have a ton of fun. Everybody's typically got smiles on their faces, unless, you know, I see your dad fixing to whoop somebody's ass, which seems like is not completely unusual. I love that about your dad. I really do.
No, I swear, like the very few times, one of the ways to get under my dad's skin is mess with me or my mom or our crew guys or anybody, you know. I mean, I've had so many people say, your dad's like the dad of the year. I'm like, oh no, he's dad of the century for real. But he's I have to keep him out of trouble a lot. But he, you know, he just wants what's best for me. And trust me, I'm telling you right now, if I'm out of line, don't worry, he'll step in and get me, which doesn't happen a lot, but you know.
Of course not, right? I can't imagine you getting in trouble. No, it's a great thing to watch you guys do what you do and do it together as a family. How important is that part of it? I mean, we see that in this sport, and I think it's one of the things that makes this whole game so special is the amount of families that are out racing together. We talked about that in preparation. We're just weeks away from the unveiling of I believe this is like our 10th or 11th go round with the Drag Illustrated Women of Power, and you've been a part of that in the past. You've been on the cover of the magazine. In 2023, you were a member of the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30. I mean, doing all these things and having those accomplishments, but doing them with your family right beside you, your mom and dad. And I mean, how much more special does that make it?
It makes it 100 times special. You know, like when we were doing MPK and a lot of these teams, you know, had hired tuners and crew guys. And at one point it was just me, my mom and dad on the road going race to race. And, you know, I didn't have a pay tuner. I didn't have all the extra expenses that everybody else had, simply just because I couldn't afford it. But it makes it that much sweeter when you win. Like I said, if I didn't have the guys that I have behind me, Mikey, Paul, Taylor, you know, they don't get paid, you know, the typical crew guy salary. Right. I'm thankful that they love me and they do it for fun, because like I said, we do have fun, you know, no matter what happens on race day or, you know, qualifying or that pass, we could go out there and suck, but guess what? We're going to eat good and we're going to listen to good music afterwards, you know? So, I mean, but we do like to win, you know, and we like to go fast. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about fun. If I didn't have my mom and dad with me, I wouldn't be doing it at all. Like I've done, that's all I've known also. During COVID, I went to the lake and I loved it. We bought a lake house, but now at this point, we're just back to racing. We go to the lake house maybe twice this summer. I think last summer we were like twice, but it's just what I've always known. Like when I was a kid, we raced Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night, we'd be out at Tulsa. We'd run the little gamblers race. Saturday morning, we'd drive to Noble in Oklahoma City and we'd race during the day. And then Sunday, we would go to Mocan and run their Sunday bracket series. So that's just pretty much all I've ever known. If I wasn't doing it with my dad and mom, I wouldn't be doing it. We have this thing where we don't run without my mom anymore, because when my dad ran against my mom and I's advice when he went to Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and that's when he was on the street and he had that bad accident. So we do it together. You know, if one of us can't go, then none of us go.
No, I think it's a really magical thing. So as a young aspiring, like you've made this like your career path. Like how much of a challenge has that been? I mean, and like when you look around the sport, I mean, do you feel like there's more opportunity now than there has been historically? I mean, what's the lay of the land? I mean, I know you're out here securing you've got a great marketing partner in American Pride, Paul, Jeannie, and everybody, but like, that's what it takes at this point in time to be involved. And, you know, I've had some really candid conversations with your dad where he's told me that I've like grabbed Kallee by the shoulders and told her like, hey, you maybe need to go do, you know, something, you know, this is going to be a tough road to hoe. But I'm just curious, like, what kind of progress do you feel you're making? And like how JT and I talk about this a lot, like for the aspiring young person that's trying to make it in drag racing, like, is there a pathway to success? Like, is there a way to make this work? And I mean, I guess I'm just curious, like your thoughts on it.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've prayed and prayed about it for many of years. Like, how am I going to make this happen? And I tell Paul and Jeannie this all the time, that they're an answered prayer to me. So, I went to college. I did marketing. I have a degree there, and I graduated. And yeah, I mean, I just prayed about it and prayed about it. And I actually had a lot of people that have known me for a long time come up to me this past race at US 131 because, you know, they'd watched me since I was running small tire all the way up until Pro Mod. And they're like, Kallee, you're just a totally different driver than you were before. And I just think if you put your head down and you grind and you do what's right and you make the right choices that your heart knows are the right choices, that everything's going to work out for the best. And that's how, I mean, I lived my life up on that. You know, you just have to, you know, make the right choices that you know that are the right ones and the wrong ones. And at the end of the day, like I said, I just prayed and prayed about it. And this is where I wanted to be, and this is where I wanted to go. And the good Lord's never leading me anywhere where I wasn't supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I have the best people around me. I have great tuner, great parents, you know, great friends that support me in whatever I do. And I think that's mainly the path that I've taken, is the one that I never thought that would have happened. You know, like we all planned on getting a Pro Mod eventually, but it was not going to be this quick. And if it wasn't for Paul and Jeannie and American Pride golf carts. So
I'm glad to see it happening, because there is a infiltration of like fresh faces to this brand of drag racing that is like super exciting. And you see like obviously the female component and just being out here in a male dominated world. Like how has, like, what kind of battle has that been? I mean, I feel like our sport's come a long way since the early Shirley Muldowney and she's the bad guy and everybody, you know, nobody wants to see her out here. It feels like it's much more celebrated. And, you know, Erica Enders is someone who has always been like, I don't want to be identified as a girl driver. I don't want to be the best female. I want to be the best there is, period. And it does feel like that has dissipated, where it's just not as unusual to see a young woman behind the wheel of these race cars.
Yeah, well, I mean, women do have better reaction times than men. So, but as far as that goes, I don't ever think that I've felt, you know, inferior, but that's also because I've had a dad, just as like Amber has, and that it's been very supportive. And I mean, like I do all the shop work just like all the men, you know what I mean? It's like I am, you know, handing in pistons, we're torquing rods, we're doing whatever we got to do to get ready for the race weekend. So for me, I don't think it's ever been like, oh, you know, she's a girl, she's not as good. And if anything, it's always a push for the men. They don't want to get beat by the girls, I'd say.
I think it probably causes them more stress than you. It's for sure. Tell me about Paul and American Pride Golf Cart. I've gotten to spend some time with Paul and get to know him, and what a cool dude, and just knowledgeable, worldly, and he's very passionate about you and your race team. And I think, you know, almost everybody kind of needs some people like that in their lives. Someone that's, you know, helping, bringing them under, you know, bringing you under their wing a little bit. And it's great to see how fired up about drag racing he is, specifically Pro Mod, and he's very involved in what's going on. So just, you know, talk a little bit about that relationship and, you know, what you've learned from it and how you see it expanding as we move forward.
So Paul, I met him in Vegas at MPK a couple of years ago in the staging. I had no idea who he was. I mean, I knew he was a Scott Taylor. We were driving by him on our golf cart, and at this point, we had this my golf cart that's now been redone by American Pride Golf Carts, because simply it was smoking. And I said, hey, don't judge us by our golf cart. You know, I'm just like, I introduced myself, and him and Jeannie were very sweet and kind. And then a week later, our golf cart kicked the rod out of it and go out. So I'm like, and we have a race the next weekend in Alabama. And I call Paul and I'm like, hey, Paul, like, I need to get a new motor for my cart. Like, I didn't know where to get golf cart motors. I just knew American Pride had golf carts. So essentially, he got us hooked up. They sent us a cart to Alabama for us to push the car around, because if not, my dad and was going to be pushing it around with our hands or driving it, one of the two. And I mean, we never looked back. We just kind of, you know, we like to have a good time. We cook, we sit around the campfire, we hang out. And Paul's relationship is more than a sponsor or a partner to me. It's very much, he's family to us. I call him about things that have nothing to do with racing, just advice and things like that. And you know, the banter we all have, they both just fit right in with my team, and all of our values align. You know, we're all competitive, but at the end of the day, just like this weekend when I went 004 red first round, and then me and Scarlett were gonna try to redeem ourselves, and we bought over into the slammers, and then I went 007 red, and I'm like mad, like. And Paul and Jeannie are the first ones down there to the end of the track, no matter what. Like, if I'm in the gold car, I'm in the red car, no matter what, they're down there because they're in the faster car, because my dad has the gas.
Well,
car.
I mean, Paul was telling me his golf cart's got like a Tesla powertrain in it.
Yes.
I mean, it'll run like 70.
Yeah. So right now we have the gas cart that we're getting upgraded to the electric one, just simply because it's not as fast, and you know, it's leaking oil. I mean, honestly, think about it though. Like, us racers, we don't have time to maintenance our carts. You know what I mean?
You're trying to maintenance a Pro Mod. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, honestly, when Paul told my dad, like, hey, we're going to send you a cart, it's going to be electric. My dad's like looking at him like, an electric cart, you know? And then we get on the cart, and dad's like throwing rocks at the gas powered one now, because the electric one is smooth, you know, it gets you where you need to go. Anyway, so we get down to the end of the track, or they get down to the end of the track to me, and I'm like mad. Like, they can just tell I'm mad because I went 007 red after the fact that I've literally told myself, don't go red. And we went 62. Scarlett redeemed herself. I just let us down again. But they're like, Kallee, like, you've done your best. Like, you had a great weekend in Scarlett. Like, it's fine. We're picking ourselves up. We have another car to run. And I would say that's just like how we take our racing program, you know, like in life, like, okay, we've done this, we got to move on. We got to go to the next chapter. We got to get the next race done. And that's just how Paul and Jeannie are. And that's how we all are, and how that's how our program is. But yeah, so without them, it wouldn't be possible, for sure.
There's some great people, man, and thank God for them, because we need we need people out here racing. We need young superstars coming out and being a part of this deal.
If they weren't a part of it, then I wouldn't be where I was. And but I hope that I hope at the end of the day, I make them proud, not even just as a driver, but as a human being. And like I've told them millions of times, like, I want to make everybody proud, like, not even on the track, off the track. I want to be the person that's like, man, she's a good person, you know?
No, 100%. And I think you're ticking all those boxes, Kallee, where I think we're all very proud of you. I remember first meeting you, and you're a punk ass kid, more so than myself, at, I think the first time our paths crossed was, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that, in Valdosta. And it's amazing to see how this whole thing has played out. So what's this look like for the rest of the year? Were you guys planning on running the full pull of Midwest Drag Racing Series events already with the Pro Mod?
Yeah, so we're going to finish off the Midwest Series, and then I think we're going to hit a few PDRA races, just now that we're, it's just so far all the way over to the East Coast for us. It's like over 20 hours to Virginia and Galat, but I know that they're going to be at US 131 and then Bristol. So maybe we'll hit a few of those. And then, of course, we'll have Kong at some of the no time events. But we're not going to stop there. We're just going to keep going, you know. There's tons of races. And I think
there's some really good ones coming up this winter.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I can't wait. Well, see, Paul and Jeannie only live like 12 minutes from the Bradenton track. So, like, I have like a home there, basically, when I live there.
You can't really ask for much more than that.
I know.
Yeah, just imagine if you woke up and went and checked the mail and there was an invitation in there. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Who
Who
knows?
knows what might happen? You never know, man.
Yes.
No, it's been really super exciting to watch. I mean, do you think that we'll see your dad race again, or do you think that he has officially patched the torch? Or that was one of the questions that I've been asked.
I think he's done. I think he's asked, like, people have asked him and he's like, I enjoy watching her more than I enjoy, but he is competitive and I'm faster than him. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know. But it is cool. I mean, it's to see, and you can see it in every step of the every whenever I see Dwayne at the racetrack, I actually do think he's having more fun now. Like just comparing it to the conversations that we would have like 100 years ago. If I was talking to Dwayne, we were probably talking about rules, or we were probably talking about something that was, I don't know that he was having as much fun as he is now, being able to work on the car and experience the thrill of like making changes on the car and seeing it show off on the racetrack, let alone having his daughter behind the wheel of it and in the winner's circle. What was it? Go ahead.
He does tell everyone he would never work this hard for himself.
I'm sure that's true.
She kills me. That's what he says. She's trying to kill me. She's working me to death. So, but it's
too
cool.
funny.
It's really cool though to see him with the Pro Mod, because he can just stand back and like, we have Lee now too that helps with like lining me up. So it's kind of cool that he just gets to stand back and like watch the car and watch over everything. Because I do think that he is a big part of my success setting the car up. Him and Lee back and forth talking about the ideas that they both have is really awesome to see.
I agree. And one last thing before we cut you loose is just I want to ask like just about the do you miss the No Prep Kings, that experience, or were you glad to kind of continue on down the path? I mean, obviously there's been tons of changes in that world, but I think it's fair to say that that was where your career really started to take off, and a lot of eyeballs are on you, and we got sponsors happening and all these things positive. I mean, what do you feel that was like obviously a necessary stepping stone, but I mean, what do you make of that world now?
I wish them nothing but success. I think what they have is going on right now is the next step that they needed to make, obviously, because they weren't on TV anymore and they're trying to figure out everything. I mean, I still keep up with Paige. She had a great win this weekend.
Yeah.
All of them. I mean, Sean is racing Midwest with us when he can. But I think that I got out right at the right time for me. I've always, like I said earlier, I've always prayed and tried to figure out what the next step was for me for that. And I'm definitely been led in the right direction as far as that goes. I mean, it's just, like I said earlier, we can't drive all over the country. I couldn't do 13 races a year, and I didn't know exactly what the next step was. So I just had to make the best choice for me. And I know a lot of people, they can say what they want about No Prep Kings. I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I was given at that time. And I wish them really nothing but the best. And it seems like they are doing very, very well for what they've got going on, which I'm super happy for them. But as a racer, you want drag racing to strive and you want everybody to do good, because it's not good when one series is up here and another series is down here not doing. We want everybody to do good. And so, yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's like all these things have a life cycle, right? And they ebb and they flow and they come. And we've seen all sorts of different classes in drag racing be the hottest thing in town and kind of wane for a little bit and then come back around. So who knows what the future holds, right? Obviously, but it's been a fantastic service. I mean, what Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings and the newest iteration, the Outlaws 32, what that has meant to the sport of drag racing. I mean, can you just share a little bit about, I mean, were you ever surprised like how the following, selling merch, like I'm sure it's a slightly surreal experience, or at least it has been for me, to have anybody ask for your autograph or have someone want to buy a shirt that's got your name on it. Right. I mean, that's got to be surreal to some point as a young lady.
Yeah, I mean, and during No Prep Kings, it was nothing for me to sell, $10,000-$15,000 worth of merch, which honestly, it's been a little bit difficult now because I've had to cut back on expenses for my program now, because I don't have that extra expense to just be like, oh yeah, I can do this, and this at this race because I have this extra expense. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is kind of weird when you're like walking around or something and someone's like, hey, can I have, or they recognize you from TV and they're like, hey, is that, like, I used to change my hair color because I was was like, I don't want people to recognize me. I'm just a person, you know, like I'm just a racer. I'm just like you or me or, you know, whatever. But yeah, it was a kind of a surreal experience. Getting to do that and having fans, which I still have the support from all of those people. And I'm so very thankful for that. At the end of the day, when you go and we're racing, you know, you want to reach as many people as you possibly can and get them in the seats at the stands. So,
I think it's, to be honest, I feel like some amount of what's happening is actually really good because the fan bases that were developed within MPK, as it has splintered and there's some people going different paths, you want to believe that some of that fan following is coming along with their favorite drivers. And,
right.
you know, I believe there were some eyes on the Shakedown this past weekend that perhaps wouldn't have been there if someone like you wasn't involved.
Correct. Like I've had multiple, we hadn't gone to US 131 in a couple of years. And I had multiple people come up to me saying, we haven't seen you since, you know, MPK was here a couple of years ago. And it's awesome that those fans not only came to MPK, but now that they're following pro mod racing. And, you know, we have, now that we don't have as many No Prep Kings races, I know like the Stat Guy and a few other people are actually pulling out, you know, the pro mod, you know, they have a list of like the pro mod top 25 drivers or whatever. So I think it's awesome because like I said, whatever eyes we can get and butts in the stands we can get, it's better for everybody.
There's no doubt, man. And I think that they actually have something with Shakedown at M-Town. I think that event, you know, for a first-year event that was promoted within a few short months, I don't see any reason in the world that doesn't become a staple at US 131. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, I would say that coming out when I saw that it was going to happen, I knew it was going to be a great event just because, you know, Donald and Keith and Ellen and all of them, you know, it was destined like to be a great place that everybody wanted to be. I actually went back to Lights Out this year for the first time in a while with Fong, and just the vibe of, you know, the radial races are so cool. And we actually, that was Paul, was his first race at Lights Out too, and he was like, man, I like this race, you know, this kind of racing, because you know, we get to light, like Radio versus the World, they're lighting the board and they're putting 340s up, you know, and I'm like, yeah. So it was just a cool atmosphere, and like the weather was really crappy, but it like was supposed to be really crappy, but it ended up being a beautiful weekend. And so it couldn't have been any better. The track prep was perfect. You know, I mean, I have to say, like my no time car, I didn't smoke the tire once. The big tire car went personal best. So we had the best of both worlds really this weekend.
Which is pretty rare air. Like whenever the track's that good for such wildly different combinations, I was really impressed with it, man. Well, Kallee, thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Congrats on a hell of a weekend. I can't wait, honestly, to see what happens next. And I hope we're talking soon about what your plans are for this winter.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, I have to say I've been at every single World Series race. I mean, like even when I didn't have a car there, I was there supporting. So
yes, you were. And we won't soon forget it, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you, Wes. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you soon, okay? Stay out of trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, Kallee Mills. See you, sweetheart.
Bye.
All right, boys and girls, I got JT. I think we lost Mike to an appointment or something, so it's down to you and I.
Oh yeah.
What do you got left for us?
Yeah, he's got to go eat, and you know.
I'm telling you what, this whole time zone shit really ruins everything.
It does.
We need to fix these time zones.
They can fix ours by just leaving it alone.
Exactly. Right.
You know, like,
just leave it alone.
I'm over daylight savings time. You know, it's bullshit.
You and me both, man. I like it to be sunny till
dark. Drive home in the dark. Yeah, no,
sucks, man. It's absolutely terrible. No. So, are you going to go to Yellow Bullet with me?
Probably.
That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
That'll probably where's your next race?
I don't know. It's summertime.
Yeah, it's summertime, right? We go all of the races in the winter, right? We like to go when you can wear a jacket and get away with it, you know? That's kind of nice. I don't know. What else is going on? Anything else we need to touch on? We didn't really talk about any of the NHRA happenings much. Obviously, War in the Woods was a banger. We did talk about some of the drama that unfolded down there, tore some race cars up, but otherwise great racing. Tommy, our boy Jimmy Dale got the win in True Street, second chance on Sunday. That was exciting. And then we saw Ryan Mitchell continue his absolute dominance of the War in the Woods event with yet another power adder, the compressed air supercharging system, which I do think we're going to do a special episode of the show and just talk about this new combination and just how it could impact the sport. I saw some people talking about how it's the power adder of tomorrow. And I'm anxious to get some perspectives from people smarter than me as to whether or not that's actually the case. I had a great conversation with Roger Conley and Chris Bell about launching like a tech show, that was more about, the technical nuances, tuning cars, safety stuff, all those different things, break down some of the stuff that happens over the course of the weekend, like what went wrong, what could have been done differently or whatever. And I told him, it's like, I do think there's room for that in our space. I think that conversation would be well received, but it's like getting people to have those conversations. It can be pretty hard, right? Yeah. Because you're having to be pretty transparent and you're having to talk about what happened and some of the things that happen people don't want to talk about. So it is interesting.
Work for people, and you know what I mean? I mean, or work for a company or work for somebody that is doing tech and it's just like,
it's tough,
so
man.
There's times that it'd be hard for them to say anything, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's a challenging situation, but I don't know what the
Holden and Jimmy Dale, man, they're on a tour. I mean, these guys are like
some drag racing sons of bitches, man.
And he's had what, 2 slicks and his guitar.
Yeah, a couple of radials and his guitar headed to the airport.
Luggage thing, yeah. And they called last week and they're having fun. Like you said, you gotta take advantage of it, when you have a chance. So
do you guys make it through that storm last night? It got pretty hairy here in DFW.
Yeah, man, it got bad for a second and then everything else just kind of skirted us, so shit, we needed the rain too. We got it like poured for just a little bit and then
wind. Farmers showing.
I know.
Yeah, we needed that rain.
We needed
that rain.
Need it for my allergies. Like, god dang.
Dude, my allergies were killing me. I don't know what it was up in Michigan this past weekend, but bro, it was crazy. It was cool to see so many people.
Yeah, but that's different stuff than you're normally around, when you're traveling and your body's not used to those. So
I was sneezing and carrying on. It was like, what the hell is wrong with me? I mean, it's dusty as the day is long down here in Texas. So I felt like I was just getting used to that.
Rain.
Yeah. We got a little bit last night, but not enough to really matter. Plus it gets so hot here. It's already been over 100 in Fort Worth, which
it just won't get hot here. We get 80s. Yeah. And then it's great pool weather.
Cool weather.
Yeah, usually this time of year it's hotter than hell.
Yeah, I know, dude. I mean, that's the thing is I've been surprised, but what do you do? Well, hey, man, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you joining us as we talk about drag racing and all the goings on in the sport. We'll be back next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you join us. If you haven't already, like the channel or subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you join the family. And we'll see you at the drag strip. I think my next outing is I'm headed to the 100,000 to win small tire race in Bowling Green in a few short weeks. Really excited about that. As Jason Hoard was talking, they got over 128 cars, I believe, locked in to be a part of this deal. $100,000 on the line off the trailer. So it should be a real gnarly endeavor. JT, how far is Bowling Green, Kentucky from Kirksville?
I don't know.
You should look that up because it is June 20th and 21st. Bowling Green to Kirksville. Let's see. That's only 7.5 hours. Shit, you've driven that far asleep.
Yeah.
So you may have to make the 479-mile jaunt down there to join me.
Is that Father's Day weekend?
I don't think so. Isn't that the weekend before?
I don't know. All these weekends. I'm horrible about planning.
I'm getting better. My wife is rubbing off on me. I think when is Father's Day?
Shit, I don't know.
No, it's the weekend after Father's Day. Father's Day is June 15th. We should know this. We're both fathers.
I know. Well, I'm in a tournament Father's Day weekend. Yeah, so I spent
golf tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I'm celebrating Father's Day, kids. Leave me alone. I'm going golfing. Well, you got one off to college.
Yeah.
You got one headed off to college.
Yes, when they get a little older, they can just play with me on Father's Day.
Exactly. And then they get a little bit older and they can drive the drink cart and serve beer and all the things that,
all that fun stuff. Yep.
Yeah, it's true, man. Well, hey, thank you guys all for joining us, and we'll see you next week right here on the Drag Illustrated YouTube channel.
Later, y'all.